Have you ever really stopped to think about it? That everyday magic, where you think of something you want, you click a button, and poof, it just shows up at your door? Well, it's not actually magic, it's logistics. And the story of how we got here is this incredible, century-spanning saga of revolution that has, time and again, completely reshaped our world.
I mean, think about it. For most of human history, your entire world of stuff was defined by what you could make yourself or what was available just down the road. If you lived in a small town, your connection to the wider world of goods was pretty much one place, the local general store.
And yet here we are today, living in this world of what feels like infinite choice, delivered with a speed that's almost hard to believe. So how did that happen? How did we bridge that enormous gap from a local, limited world to a global, practically instantaneous one?
I mean, just look at the sheer scale of this change. We went from a system literally powered by horses, where you had to be self-sufficient, to one that runs on jet engines and algorithms, where convenience is absolutely king. And that's not just a small tweak, it's a fundamental change in how our entire economy works.
Well, the story of how we made that giant leap isn't just about technology. It's a story of incredible ambition and disruption, and we can see it play out through three iconic companies. By understanding how Sears, then Walmart, and now Amazon, each figured out how to master a new kind of supply chain, we can basically see how our modern world was built.
So, our story kicks off in the late 19th century with the very first great disruption. This was the era of iron horses and singing wires, and one company, Sears, figured out how to harness all that new power.
For the very first time, a new kind of infrastructure was crisscrossing the country, and it just shattered the old rules of time and distance. The railroad could move huge amounts of goods at speeds people could barely imagine. And just as critical, the telegraph allowed information, orders, prices, instructions, to move even faster than the trains themselves.
To really get how big of an economic earthquake this was, just look at what the Erie Canal did a few decades before. It slashed shipping costs by a mind-blowing 90%. The railroad network did that, but for the entire country. It wasn't just a new way to ship stuff, it was the birth of a true national market.
So Sears saw this new network and built a totally revolutionary business on it. Their catalog was basically the internet of its day, offering a universe of choices directly to people in rural homes. They built these enormous warehouses right next to the rail hubs so they could ship directly to customers and cut out the local general store entirely. And it worked so well that at its peak, Sears accounted for 1% of the entire U.S. economy. Just think about that. 1%.
Okay, so this model, this idea of using a central hub to bring stuff in and then ship it all out, it feels so modern, doesn't it? But was Sears really the first to come up with this?
No way. Not even close. The blueprints for modern logistics are, well, ancient. The famous Silk Road wasn't just one road. It was a whole network connected by trading hubs that worked just like Sears warehouses. And the Roman Empire? It was held together by a 250,000-mile road network, all supported by sophisticated warehouses to keep its army supplied. The technology always changes, but the core ideas, they're timeless.
All right, let's fast forward to the next great disruption. After World War II, a completely new kind of infrastructure paved the way for a new king of retail, Walmart, the undisputed king of the highway.
As Americans started moving out of the cities and into the suburbs, the brand new interstate highway system became the country's economic bloodstream. And this created a totally new map for retail. Suddenly, the most valuable piece of land wasn't downtown anymore. It was right off the highway exit with a giant parking lot out front. And this all happened right alongside this quiet but super powerful revolution in standardization. All of a sudden, the shipping container made moving goods between trucks and trains and ships totally seamless. Lean manufacturing, perfected by Toyota, taught everyone how to get rid of waste. And the simple barcode, first scanned on a pack of Wrigley's gum in 1974 of all things, let you track every single item. Each one of these was about creating one single, efficient standard.
And just look at the impact of that first one alone. The standardized shipping container didn't just make loading cargo a little bit cheaper. It absolutely demolished the old costs, cutting down port handling expenses by over 90%.
That single metal box is one of the biggest reasons global trade is what it is today.
And this is where Walmart's founder, Sam Walton, comes in. He was a former army captain, and he was completely obsessed with this kind of efficiency. Sure, he built his stores for the new suburban driver, but his real genius was in logistics. He pioneered things like cross-docking. That's where goods arrive at a warehouse and are immediately moved from the inbound truck to an outbound truck without ever hitting a shelf. It was this relentless, almost military-grade focus on cutting costs that became Walmart's ultimate weapon.
Which, of course, brings us to our current era and the third retailer in our story. A new digital infrastructure has given rise to the Internet's own empire, Amazon. So, today's most important infrastructure isn't made of steel or concrete anymore. It's made of fiber optic cables and massive data centers. The Internet and cloud computing have created a world where information, selection, and the act of buying something are all instant and global. The rules of the game have changed all over again. Amazon's supply chain runs on technologies that were literally science fiction a generation ago. And it's not just one thing, it's a whole system working together. You've got IoT sensors tracking every package in real time, you have AI predicting what you're going to buy even before you know you want it, and you have armies of robots picking and packing orders in warehouses. It is a logistics machine built for the digital age. And this gets us right back to the central idea of our whole story. I mean, this quote just nails it. Every single time a company figures out a fundamentally new way to manage how stuff flows from A to B, it doesn't just win at retail. It actually changes how all of us live.
So here it is, the whole story in one simple table. You have Sears using the railroad and telegraph to promise people unmatched selection. Then you have Walmart mastering the highways to promise everyday low prices. And now you have Amazon building on the internet to promise unbeatable convenience. 3 different eras, 3 different infrastructures, but the exact same pattern of disruption.
Understanding this history gives us this incredibly powerful lens to look at not just the past, but the future. If this pattern holds true, what should we be looking out for next? The pattern is just remarkably consistent, and it really boils down to 3 simple steps. First, some new foundational infrastructure shows up that changes the economics of how things move. Second, a really clever innovator comes along and builds a new supply chain model to take advantage of it. And third, that new model lets a new leader rise up and totally dominate the market.
And the big lessons from this whole history are crystal clear. Information technology, whether it's the telegraph or AI, is always the spark. Standardization from a shipping container to a data format is what unlocks all the efficiency. But in the end, the biggest winners are always the ones who can integrate all the pieces into one seamless, unstoppable system. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. We've seen how steel rails, paved highways, and the global internet each became the foundation for a new commercial empire, changing literally everything in their path. The big question for all of us is, what comes next?